Welcome to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast.
You don't know history, you don't know wrestling, you don't know matches.
My belly's just a little big, my hand is just a little...
Cut that shit off! No intro for this week's episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. After what I've watched this week, WWE don't deserve the intro. I am in an angry ass mood, and I've been in an angry mood all week. Let's just say I did not enjoy this week's episode of Raw. My name is Turbo Tony, and I am here, of course, and I always give this guy an intro because, you know, he unlike WWE, he never fails to give us some good class entertainment. And also taking a page out of WWE's book, I'll make a shameless reference to the Oscars. When winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Podcaster, it's Matt Marsander.
Hey.
You don't have the right to be happy this week, Matt.
I don't, but I quite like the fact that I now have an Oscar.
Yeah, you do. Maybe that will make you feel a lot happier after...
After this week? Yeah, well...
I
don't know.
How are you doing, Matt? How are you doing apart from
I'm not doing too bad. It took me quite a while to get through Raw this week.
I think that was a common theme amongst a lot of people. 4 times, Matt, I had to turn off this show and go back to it. 4 times. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm probably sat at about 6.
6? Wow.
Yeah, where I'm sort of like, I'm going to go through this. No. So like, I watched it pretty much in like half-hour stints.
Yeah. Well, I let's just say I finished it today and I started it on Tuesday. That's how long it took for me to get through this week's show. Spoiler alert, guys. This week's episode of Raw, me and Matt have liked to try and stay away from doing what we have sometimes referred to as the rage review, where we look upon it and we just get very angry at the show. Matt, would you like to say that, like, by general, as time has gone on with the podcast, you and me have grown a little bit more along the lines that we try and look at some of the other sides of where WWE could go and positives of the show and, you know, sometimes giving it a pass, dare I say, some of the weeks. No, not this week. Oh, no. WWE, don't get away with it this week. For 1 week only, I am not going to talk about what WWE did right on this show. We will talk a little bit about that. But it's basically going to be no shame attached, us bashing the show this week. So, if you guys enjoy that, if you want to listen to various jokes at WWE's expense on it, this is the show for you. We'll be right down your alley. I'm using this, Matt, this week as a therapeutical outlet for my distaste for Monday Night Raw this week.
Fair enough.
And it's doubled by the fact that last week was pretty damn decent, and then this week we got this wonderful piece of turd put on our plate for us.
I like how last week we got some stick for saying that it was good.
Yeah, well, you know, it's just the way it is. We can only say how we feel, but still. Let's do our plugs, Matt, before we procrastinate any further. Of course, if people want to interact with us here on the channel, one of the ways to do that is via our Facebook group. It's facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. Like the page and ask questions on there. And we got a couple of questions this week from our Facebook page, so
it's true.
Good stuff there. Matt, if they want to tweet us through all the avenues of Twitter, what is the port of call?
It'll be at TalkWrestlePod.
It is indeed. And just talking about that a little bit, Matt, is that I'm starting to feel a little bit happy that I wasn't sick this week instead of last week, because then I maybe would have given Raw, you know, it's just
a miss completely.
Yeah, you know. But, well, actually, no, that would have been quite nice, but still. So, just a little bit of talk before we begin with the show. A little bit further of procrastination there, Matt. The WrestleMania review plans that we revealed last week, that we're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 5 minutes after it ends, at 5 minutes past 4. We had a few people respond to us saying that had a few concerns to raise about that. Fair enough. One of them was that we were going to be too tired at that point to be able to do the review. Myself and Matt are planning on sleeping before the actual event starts. So in terms of tiredness, not going to be an issue. Don't worry about that. And when me and Matt are tired, we've done plenty of podcasts tired on this show, and funny enough, I don't know about you, Matt, they tend to be the better ones that we record. I don't quite know.
I don't know. I'm too tired, too drunk.
Yeah, yeah. We might be drinking for that. And the other one as well is that a lot of people will be going to bed and everything, and we fully get that and we understand. But that means that you'll be able to catch it, the next morning. It'll always be there for you. It's not going to be deleted. The video will still be there. I just think we'll get a lot more traffic and it'll be a lot more positive for the channel doing it straight after WrestleMania than it would be doing it like the night after or something like that. So that's the reason that we're going there. It won't be the only live thing. I know a few people are a bit upset because they haven't been able to catch some of the live shows that we've done. It's not going to be the last live thing we do. In fact, it's getting more easier now the more we do it, Matt, to do the live show. So, it's not exactly going to be the last incarnation that we do of this. So. But I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on that and where we go from there. We're excited for it though. It should be a lot of fun. Even if WrestleMania doesn't turn out to be that way, but there's a few good matches at least. Not that Raw sold it very well this week, but we'll get to that soon. Is there anything else that you would like to procrastinate, Matt, before we begin this week?
No, I've got nothing to put.
Nothing at all. Apart from a little bit of Oscar talk, but to be honest, even Raw turned me off the Oscars this week. I don't want to talk about the Oscars, or Subway for that matter. Oh, Matt, I'm getting into it already. I will give you the choice, Matt, whether or not we review Raw now, which would be a change, or we review it at its normal place at the end of the show. I'll give you the choice.
I think we should just get it out of the way.
You want to review Raw right off the bat?
May as well.
I agree. Let's do it. We'll do the news, fan feedback, NXT report card. We're shaking up the show this week. And there's a good reason why. So, the Raw review. I thought last week, Matt, Raw was pretty damn good. We went on record, Matt, by saying this was probably the first hour of that show was one of the most fun 1 hours of television on Raw that we've seen in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I stand by that. Some people said maybe not. Maybe we're just getting too nostalgic for Shane O'Mac returning and all that good business. And I'll take that, but it's just how we felt at the time, right? We're allowed to get a little bit overexcited. Now, WWE had a chance here to amp up the anticipation, Matt, for WrestleMania, the big show that's coming up soon. Every show coming up to WrestleMania, Matt, is to sell that show, right? To build up the rivalries, build up the wrestlers, really start getting those matches anticipated, right? Getting us really ramped up for them, right? That's their job, right? That's kind of what their job is.
That's how it should be, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Well, they didn't do it this week. No. Nashville, Tennessee was the place of emanation, the home of TNA, some might say. Although when obviously WWE rolled into town, they can draw much larger crowds than TNA would in Nashville, but that's a different story entirely. And we begin. I will prefix this, guys. This may just be me, like, rage by 1,000 cuts sort of thing, right? The fact that I've had to deal with a lot of small niggling things over Raw over the last couple of months that has eventually caused me this week to snap out of nowhere. I'll accept that might be something, right? Even though the show is bad anyway. I might even accept that I'm going overboard on this. I might even accept that maybe I'm taking it too far, that I'm just really annoyed at some things and it's carrying over into other things. I'd argue that I am a person watching Raw, and if other things have pissed me off, that's genuinely how I'm feeling. I can't mask it. I try and be a critic as much as I can, but we're by all means wrestling journalists or critics of that nature, Matt. We are reviewers. We go to an audience that knows what kind of people we are. I'm trying to pre-mask anything that I say on this show because it's going to be hugely negative. So, what about you, Matt? Before we get into actually what happened on the show, you didn't think it was. You thought you're obviously not saying it's good, but you're not nearly as pissed off about it this week as I am.
I'm not saying I'm not pissed. It's just I can sort of go. There was sort of like we generally could be quite. Sort of take sort of the shit with the shine sort of thing. And there were some good parts. Like, unfortunately, it was like all of, one match and a 5-minute segment, but...
Oh, yeah, I you know what, Matt? I'll agree with you that there is some minute good stuff to see on this show. but over 3 hours, that can get hidden under a lot
for what
of
is the
shit.
total of about 20 minutes of TV, doesn't quite cut it.
Yeah. So I'm going to prefix this with a warning. If you guys don't want what is going to be a very negative review of this show, then you should probably leave now. Because it is going to be hugely negative. I'm just going to say that right now. Let's begin. The show begins with resident smug champion Triple H. He's so smug, Matt. He's very smug. He tells us that we all have authority figures in our life that we hate, but we never challenge them because we're afraid. I was going to make some sort of joke there that describes my kids, but I don't hate them. I love them, and that's the power they hold over me. Damn it, those little, they know I love them, and that's how they get over me. They're the authority. That's what I'm trying to get over here, Matt. What's your authority, Matt? What's your authority? Are you beholden to no one?
So I am my own authority.
You are.
To be fair, it's the one thing is sort of like it's the easiest thing to do. It's how sort of like Austin and Vince got so massive in the Attitude Era. You hate your boss, don't you? Well, fuck him. And that's what it is. Everyone has their authority figure. It's their boss.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all it is.
Yeah, unless you're
A teacher or...
Yeah. Everyone's got that someone. That's basically what he's getting at there, and everyone. That's okay. Tripp says that Reigns did challenge the authority, and he learned his place. Dean Ambrose, of all people, saunters out because we all know that Reigns is still injured after last week. I think he's still trying to find his nose, so fair enough. Now, people might state, of course, that he didn't sell the beating that he got last week too much. He had a limp here and there, but guys, we all know this is the Ambrose clone number 243, rebooted from the confines of Stamford, Connecticut. So that's it. I've just got this idea of Lesnar fighting an army of Ambrose clones, and they all reveal themselves at WrestleMania.
It's like one of those, that opening scene, I can't remember which Resident Evil it is, where it's just a whole heap of Alices.
Yeah, that's it. Except it's just Ambrose, and all of them have different coloured tank tops, just to confuse people. Yeah, that would be quite weird. So, a rainbow of tank tops, shall we say. Now, Matt, they begin what I can only call a myriad of cringeworthy Oscars references. Because remember, Matt, WWE is up to date and with the times. You must remember that, okay? That's the only reason why they can reference these things that happened at that time, because they're so up to date with the times that they can reference the Oscars. And you know what? If it was done once, wouldn't care. I'd kind of expect it.
Yeah, done twice, not too. Pace it out. It's not a problem.
Oh, it was done a lot more than twice over the course of this time, as people came to know. It's like
that one thing. It's like I really hate when JBL makes like Premier League football references. It's like the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, I know. It's or just any sports reference he comes out with at the moment. I'm just like, he kind of tries to ham-fist it in there. But here with the Oscars, I mean, it wasn't commentary, it was stuff going on in the ring. Oscars. Yes, we get it, WWE. You're up to date. You know what happens in the culture surrounding that time. Do you want a medal? Congratulations.
So the worst part is it almost sounds like an old man sort of like trying to hold on to his youth. It's like, I'm cool, I'm hip.
It's just, I don't know, that kind of annoyed me. And over the course of the show, Matt, whenever you think that they weren't going to do it again, that's exactly when they would do it again. And you're like, okay, I get it. Fair enough. Ambrose asks who Triple H wanted to win at Fastlane. Tripp just looks at him like, that's a bit of a redundant question at this point. Which I actually had to kind of agree with him on that point.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I started to dislike this promo around this part of it, Matt, because I started to know where it was headed at that point. And I knew it was a bad idea. Which is obviously eventually, we're going to talk about it more later at the end of the show, Ambrose against Triple H. That's a horrendous idea. Just off the bat. It makes no sense why you would even book something like that.
And the fact that it's going to be for the title as well.
Yeah. So, I'm going to explain at the end of the show why that's a stupid reason why they've booked that. Because some people might be excited, and on paper, if you take that match in a vacuum, Matt, man, that does sound quite exciting, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, on paper I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you look at the repercussions and where both men are going to be going, and suddenly it becomes very predictable. And then the only other way it can't be predictable is if it's boring and they do a fuck finish with it. I'm going to go into it more later, but it's a horrible idea.
Well, the only way it can't... Well, no, the other thing is that the only way it can't be predictable is if they really do throw out just a proper curveball and it's like they pretty much fuck up Mania.
Yeah, which, believe me, guys, they don't have the balls to do. They're not doing that. But for people getting excited, Dean Ambrose is not winning the World Championship. He's not being put in that World Championship main event. They are sticking with Reigns and Triple H. As much of a train wreck it's bound to be at this point.
So the worst part is apparently they're rumouring that it's going to be Reigns at... I read somewhere that the rumours backstage are that he's going to be like 2017 and 2018 main event.
Oh yeah, without question, Matt. Without question. Yeah. The only thing that can stop him now is him getting injured, because they have a plan for him, and by God, no matter how much people disagree with it, they're going to do it. Right? That's the bottom line of it there. Anyway, Matt, I thought that the problem with this promo is that it ended up becoming a half comedy segment at Ambrose's expense. Oh, let's laugh at him because he's a little bit mental, rather than he's scary because he's a bit mental.
Yeah.
That was the dynamic that they're going with here. And I'm like, this is the guy you're trying to build up to face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Like, he shouldn't be a joke at this point. Maybe that's just me. Maybe. But still. Ambrose sets the challenge to Triple H, and Tripp says, you know what, I'll give my response later on at the end of the show. And they do a weird sort of joke there about what he actually meant by the end of the show, which I just sunk my hands in. I was like, I don't want Ambrose to be...
It was a bit dumb.
Yeah, I mean, Ambrose participating in this bad comedy, I'm just like... Yeah, I'm nah. He sets up Ambrose versus Del Rio for tonight. And
that's a match we just can't wait for.
Yeah. This is the time to build up Ambrose and give him some tough wins and tough matches, get him ready for Lesnar. And I'm like, he's going to start playing second fiddle in the storyline he's not involved in, which is the Reigns and Triple H storyline.
Yeah.
They're going to try and get people booing Triple H, but they don't realise
it's not happening.
No, it's not going to happen. People are going to realise that if Triple H beats the shit out of Ambrose at this event that they're going to do, Roadblock, we'll talk more about it at the end of the show. If they're going to do that, to try and make him as a heel so people cheer Reigns to avenge his brother, they're just going to look at it as, well, we just want Ambrose to get his own revenge. We definitely don't want Reigns. If this is their magical way to get people behind Reigns, it's just not going to work. Like, they're so desperate, Matt, to have that moment of Roman Reigns beating Triple H and holding up their championship and an entire arena, right, in Dallas, everyone cheering Roman Reigns and the confetti.
Yeah. The
problem is they're going to have another Royal Rumble moment on their hands because they don't understand. They don't understand.
It's not what we want.
No. Listen, we're big Roman Reigns fans, but the more they do this is just giving ammunition to the people that will boo him at WrestleMania. They'll boo him more because of this shit.
And the worst part is, originally I would go as far as to call myself a Reigns fan. Now I would probably be one of the ones booing him.
Yeah, it's just because of the way WWE chosen to book him. It's
definitely
a little bit insulting at this point, right? But still, I wasn't a huge fan of this segment. Like I said, I didn't like the ham-fisted attempts at comedy at Ambrose's expense. At the moment, Matt, it's coming off that Triple H is way more interesting and cooler than Ambrose is, right? He's the one cracking the jokes, right? He's the one doing the beatdowns on people. I'm like,
yeah.
And that sounds much more interesting than what's going on. So, still, Lynch versus Banks to start off the show. Now, I said last week that I would have liked for this to have been the main event, although I will give WWE some requiem here. With the finish they had planned in this match, Matt, it made sense for it not to be the main event.
Yeah.
So I get that. This is one of the positives of the show. I thought that this match was pretty good. You said as well, Matt, that you quite enjoyed this match. I mean, it's Lynch and Banks. Come on, you know this works, right? So
That's it.
You know this is good stuff.
And they were given time to go with it as well, not, just 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. Charlotte is at ringside. She's watching the match with Daddy Ric Flair at the side. Now, Matt, one small note I want to put on this, and it's directed towards Becky Lynch. It's nothing bad against her, but it's more of a bit of advice. I don't know whether you thought of it when it happened the same way I did, but when Becky Lynch did her flat back drop kick off the top rope, or off the turnbuckle, I don't know what rope she was on, it made me think of Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Were you exactly the same as me then, as soon as it happened? I would hugely prefer if she would stop doing that move. And it's not because the move doesn't look good, it does, but just the impact of how she lands on her back. All I can think of is just look at Daniel Bryan and the neck issues that he had over the style of wrestling that he did. You don't need to do a
and the fact that he's contributed it to that sort of flat back missile drop kick as well.
Yeah.
Not to be the sole blame, but...
Yeah, and it doesn't change that much differently from doing a missile drop kick and landing on your side. It takes away so much of the damage to your neck, right? I just look at that and I'm like, I don't want Becky Lynch down 5 years down the line, starts having problems with her neck, and eventually she has to go, so actually I have to stop because I've been doing flat back drop kicks for the last 5 years. Yeah. I look at that move, Matt, and I'm like, that's a move that when you're doing it, it is putting tremendous strain on your body, right? You're coming off the top rope, the person you're kicking just takes a normal simple back bump from standing position, but you're coming off the top rope, nothing's blocking your fall, and you're landing directly on your back and your head and your neck.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. I just much rather she get rid of it, or just tweak it a little bit, but still. The match was decent, quite good, probably one of the, like I said, easily one of the better points of the night. In the Sunset Flip double pin, which causes a draw, fresh out of NXT for people that have been noticing the Sami Zayn Samoa Joe saga that's been going on. Matt, I'm pretty sure that after this finish that they are definitely not going with a singles match at Mania. I'm pretty much sure that they're going for a triple threat.
And that would make me what? That would make me right.
Yeah. You saw it coming though from a mile away. Yeah. It makes sense. I'm sure maybe what will happen is when they have I think they're having another match on SmackDown. I don't know how it's gone.
Well, they've had it, yeah.
I'm sure that maybe what they'll do is that they can't decide who will be, and then Charlotte gets involved to stop a decision, and then you get Stephanie comes out or whatever and goes, actually now it's a triple threat because you got involved, and blah 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 goes on.
Yeah.
So that's where I see it going. It would be very weird for one of these women to miss out after building a lengthy storyline like this. I always thought it was weird that Banks was going to be completely just written out of the storyline for no reason anyway. It made sense.
At one point she nearly was. It's scary to think that.
It did look that way. It looked like it was going to be Sasha Banks and Charlotte, which it would be a match that we would still be happy with. But we said, Matt, that Banks was doing great work. She was really getting over at that point, so it didn't make sense to completely remove her away. So, good stuff. The Wyatts, Matt, they show up in a dark segment with dark words, in a dark background, with a dark group, with dark characters, in a dark setting.
Darkness. Do you remember that kids? I was going to say, do you remember that kids show about what was it, the skeletons or something? In the dark, dark house, there were some dark, dark stairs.
Yeah,
it's just like, oh no.
Yeah, it's an absolute shame that these promos, Matt from Wyatt, could be the most anticipated and entertaining parts of the show. But as a character now, he's spoken so much shit that's never come to fruition. No one cares about his words anymore. So now they're just dead segments to me. I know it's a real shame. But guys, can you blame me? I have said this all along, that Bray Wyatt has deteriorated into a guy who talks a lot of shit and never backs it up. That's all he is. That's what he is now.
And considering the match that he's going to get at Roadblock.
Oh, what match is he getting there? Oh, don't. Go on.
He's getting the Beast.
Oh. Okay. Alright. So the Wyatts are never really going to get there, are they, really? Come on, we all know that at this point. But, yeah, I'm beating a dead horse there. It's just a bit of a shame when you see these promos. And I remember, Matt, when they first debuted, do you remember? They first came out and you and me used to wait with bated breath, and we used to break down almost every single line of his promos trying to find some sort of hidden message. And then you realised there was no hidden message. The only one was, fuck you, to everyone who really thought that this meant more than it did. So,
yeah,
there you are. I told you it was going to be a negative review, guys. Come on, it was going to happen. Ziggler versus The Miz. So, apparently Ziggler told Miz that he isn't worthy of being a WWE superstar, so this match happens. Fair enough, Matt. You talk a bit of shit with someone.
I quite like how it was Raw last week. It's like, can't think of anything.
Right. But fair enough, Matt. You know what? Considering how Raw is nowadays, with just random matches thrown together, at least they gave us some sort of reason why these two were.
Yeah.
And you know what, Matt?
Can't ask for much more than that half the time. Because we don't get much more than that.
Yeah. But here's the thing, Matt. Miz, he's a pretty decent wrestler. Ziggler, pretty decent wrestler. I was thinking to myself, Matt, you know what? I may not be the biggest Miz fan. I may be kind of turned off of Ziggler because he's never really going to get there. But in terms of good weekly in-ring wrestling, yeah, sure, crack on. And just as I said
I accept it.
Yeah, just as I said that, Matt.
The most dangerous move.
That's right. 40, was it like roughly 40 seconds into the match or something? Maybe not even that. Something
ridiculous.
Yeah. And I thought it was a bit of a shame because I was thinking to myself, okay, they could have put on a good showing here. Could have got some good wrestling on. And you tell you what, in terms of characterizing this, it makes Ziggler look off like an absolute penis. He talked all that shit. He talked so much smack to The Miz about, oh, you don't deserve to be here, and then he gets beaten in less than a minute. Like, he hasn't even got close to making his hair look like Mr. Perfect's, you know? He barely even broke a sweat. You know? But come on, it does look bad on him, Matt. If I was going to say to you, oh, Matt, you're so shit. You don't even deserve to be in the same... And then you beat me in 40 seconds. It's like, yeah, you're a bit of a penis, aren't you? So, that's how it came across anyway. By the way, that was the first of what I thought was a trend of matches that should have got some time and then proceeded to get none of them. So, if you wanted to watch this week's Raw for in-ring wrestling quality,
you are watching the wrong product.
Yeah, you should have tuned out by now. Just go watch the Finn Balor Adrian Neville match on NXT this week. It's a good 20-minute match.
Yeah, it's starting to look that way.
Good. You know, awesome stuff. Right, we get to the last good thing on this show. I'm glad we can get out of the way so we can continue on our path of destruction through this week's episode of Raw. Stephanie McMahon comes out to accept her award from last week. One thing I will say about Stephanie, Matt, through any time that I might criticise her, and this week is not one of those weeks, funny enough, all the times I might criticise her, one thing's for sure, Matt. She is absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. Is she not? She is an extremely attractive woman.
Yeah.
Triple H is a lucky guy. And you'll never ever catch myself and Matt on his podcast saying to you, oh, well, she just doesn't look that good. Guys, come on. She's not bad looking, right? So, there we are. In fact, I think she's better looking than some of the people they try and portray as models on the show, but that's just me, so there we are. She tried to get her speech out, but the fans won't let her, so she fires off in anger, much like we're doing now. And and she shoots off at Shane McMahon, her brother, and the fans, saying that, well, Shane's not a supporter of the family. And she just goes off. She even speaks about Shane's sons will have a place in this company, but they'll have to fight my daughters to get there. I like this idea of, like, a future, like, fucking, you know...
Brand war.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea of working for Shane makes her vomit, and eventually we'll all have to bow down to the Queen. That's just taking a few excerpt lines. This is one of the best promos Stephanie's done in probably a couple of years.
Like. Oh, a while.
Yeah, I mean, she did some great stuff leading up into her Brie Bella match at SummerSlam.
Not that good.
But yeah, I thought as a single promo, that's pretty damn good right there. I thought, fair play. Fair. This is the Steph, Matt, that I like a lot more when she's talking about something passionately and she's not talking down someone at the same time.
Yeah.
She's the best, man. I'll just go as far and say this, that she's the best female speaker in the company at the moment. And people might go, what? She is, but she just gets these roles where she has to talk down people, and that's what we dislike. Her speaking ability.
I can't think of anyone I can't think of anyone immediately that I could sort of like. No, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
whoever is better. I can't immediately think of anyone.
That's right. I mean, they had Brie in that thing last year. I'm not saying that she's on her par, but what I'm saying is that WWE thought that she might, and Stephanie just blew her away in every segment. Every segment, Steph destroyed her in terms of verbally. This was just great stuff by Steph. I thought, honestly, it was really, really good stuff. Brilliant promo. More of that, please. If she wants to come out and rag on people in this fashion, rather than being passive-aggressive and doing that sort of shtick, which I'm just not into, then this is the Stephanie McMahon that is at her best, right? In fact, you kind of look at it this way, and I think that she would make a good manager for someone. You know, almost like, I'm not going to say she would be good as, but almost like Paul Heyman, where she can come out and cut a promo for someone. She's that good, but she's in the role that, you know, that she's in and whatever, and it wouldn't make sense for her to become a manager. I get all of that before people go off, but she is good verbally. It's just a shame we don't get to see that often. But this week was one of those weeks. Now, Matt, that's all gone. The rest of the show was
tap water.
It was
toilet water.
Yeah,
just terrible.
At very least, it was very hard to get through. I've not struggled with Raw as much in a long time than I have this week. I really struggled to get through this week's episode. And people might know here, they might know as before, Matt, that I normally watch the show in 2 sections. I do an hour and a half one night, hour and a half the next night, right?
Yeah.
I started on
Break
Tuesday.
it up, nice and easy.
I'm glad, Matt, that I started on Tuesday. Normally I start later on in the week, and I do my other notes, and then I watch Raw, right? I'm glad I started on Tuesday. If I had not started on Tuesday, Matt, I would not have finished it for this show. I wouldn't have been able to get through it.
That's true.
It took the whole week, Matt, for me to get through this show, and this is the rest of what happened here. Is what is part of the reason for that. So still, I still can't believe 6 different times you had to watch.
Yeah,
that must be a record, right?
And that's not even like at work, like trying to get it in on a lunch break sort of thing.
Like catching 15 minutes here and there when you can. That's like you have the opportunity to watch more and you're choosing not to.
Yeah. That
was the same as me.
I think one of those because I genuinely was starting to fall asleep.
Oh yeah, Matt, I had that plenty of times. I really did. One of the times it was like 11 o'clock, and you know me, Matt, I'm very red that I go to bed before 1 o'clock in the morning. I went to bed. Yeah. I shut off the show and went to sleep. I was like,
it's easier that way.
It's sending me to sleep. I may as well go get some good kip out of it. Really weird. League of Nations versus the Lucha Dragons. The Dragons' gear, I will say, in this match I thought was pretty badass. They had the black and the silver. I like that.
Yeah.
Good stuff. It was an okay match, yet again, one of those ones. It did get a little bit longer than some of the other ones that ended very quickly, but I would have preferred a bit longer. Rusev gets the win after the distraction by Del Rio, who allows himself the opportunity to give a turnbuckle stomp to the US champion afterwards. And apparently, Matt, the new gesture for the League of Nations, patented, man, it's their new thing, is that they take their hand into the sky, put their finger out, and they waggle it around like crazy.
The thing is, I can't remember whether that's. I think that's because that's a Del Rio thing, because that's what he did before doing the stomp.
Oh, well, they're all doing it now, Matt.
I know.
The same, alternate, Matt. They cannot stop putting their finger in the air and in the air and just going, whoa!
Putting their finger in the air.
They may as well be putting their fingers in there. I've got no idea what that means and why they would be doing it. Coming there, they look like they were trying to start up a helicopter coming down to the ring. It looked like they were trying to take flight. One person that might have a problem with that is Cesaro. You used to do that, and it made sense because he was going for the swing, right? And then, no, apparently this is their new thing. When they came out later on in the night, Matt, no one can wave their finger in the air like the League of Nations, man. They were showing everyone how good they are, waving their finger in the air. They were going full kilter, for it.
Watch it waggle.
Yeah.
Watch it.
I can't do that. Can you wave your finger in the air?
I think I'm capable of it.
You think you are? Well,
I think I could be. I think I could be on par.
Well, I tell you what. Call up the League of Nations, Matt. They'll take you on immediately because
You wiggle in a finger waggling contest.
with you on their team, Matt, they might actually be able to take flight going into the ring. You know,
With enough people,
yeah,
possibly.
with enough people, yeah.
I think if everyone stands together, holds hands, and
just does that with their finger, then
Yep.
enough compression of air, some sort of science, whatever.
sure we can figure this out.
Yeah, that's right. Renee Young is asking. Oh God, Matt. Oh God.
We've hit the point.
Oh God. Oh my God, I have so much bad things to say about this. So previously, guys, we had planned a comedy skit to open up this show, and it was based on this. The problem was the rest of the show was so bad that I didn't even have time to write the script, let alone be in a comedic mood to be able to pull that stuff off. And we begin. Renee Young is asking Natalya how she looks so good all of the time. Now, I'm not going to say that she doesn't look good. I find Natalya to be quite attractive. So, still, Matt, the perfectly placed subway.
Yeah, however.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't out of place. Natalya puts all of the key to her diet and the way she looks great is the subway. Matt, the mystery is now solved. We now know, because, by the way, they had to cut away from Raw to find out the secret that Natalya has.
That's it.
Right? Stop the presses. Matt, cancel that investigator that you hired. We now all know how Natalya does it. Guys, if you go out there, you could be a 1 out of 10 in terms of being an UGG. You could be one of Tyler Breeze's Uggos. You have a subway and you will look amazing. Basically what they told you.
I don't know if I could trust being a spokesperson for Subway, however.
Fuck Subway. I'm a spokesperson. Fuck Subway.
Fuck Subway. Well, I do like their sandwiches, though.
Matt, why couldn't they have just had a little bit of fun with this? Right? Sure, it would have been awful, because their comedy is awful. But
You could just imagine that only, go back 10 years or something, we'd have had, a diva food fight.
you know what, the way I look at this, though, Matt, is the way they treated it as if, guys, we finally figured it out.
Oh, yeah, it's not because, I'm fucking a neidhar that I was born into wrestling. That's how I always know how to take care of myself and all things like that. Nope, it's because I occasionally quite like this chicken sandwich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Apparently, Matt, the key to looking for all the models are having it. By the way, Subway.
That's it.
Oh yeah, they are. Guys, I'm just gonna say right now, I've never liked Subway, so maybe I'm biased with this, but fuck Subway.
I like Subway.
Matt, fuck Subway.
I like Subway.
Well, you can have. Oh, Matt, that's why you look so good.
That is true.
That's it, Matt.
I think I find quite funny is they were like, oh yeah, but fast food's such an issue. Yeah, I read Triple H's autobiography and there's one of those things in there. It's like, you can actually have McDonald's if you just throw away the bread.
I get it, right?
Not to the same, there's a bit more to it than that, but it's you've just finished a show, it's 1 a.m, here is what's open, here's what you can have.
Yeah.
And that's in Triple H's book, and I'm very more going to trust Triple H than Natalya's Subway.
Yeah, the fact that she got paid to say those words as well, right? These...
Oh, no. Well, in which case, why don't I see any of that fucking sandwich shit around your face? Huh?
Yeah. And it's very... I don't even understand why they went with this. It's a really stupid advertisement, because, for one, this is the... a Subway commercial is the only way we can get Natalya on air on Raw.
Yeah. It's a waste of two separate talents, because it's Renee Young as well being put to waste.
Yeah. And also the other thing, Matt, is why? No disrespect to Natalya, this is part of the problem. She's not on air every week. Why did Subway go? You know what? We want Natalya. Maybe it's the Total Divas stuff. Maybe that's what it is. But In which case, then do a promotional thing on Total Divas, not on WWE, because no one gives a shit about Total Divas. That would watch wrestling, right? But still, Matt, we should test Natalya for appearance in enhancing tomatoes. Clearly, that's what's going on with that.
Okay.
We need to test her. Get her tested. She may be on a wellness policy for having too much Subway, because, yeah, I was angry this week, guys. I think you can kind of tell. And it continues. Ryberg versus Adam Rose. Now, Matt, you know when Ryberg has gone heel when he doesn't say more on his entrance, he just walks off.
That's it.
How heel? Oh, very heel. His flashback.
He's like, wake up, it's feeding time.
That's
it's
right. His entrance, where they've got like a little video interview while he's having his entrance, brings up the Oscars again, because remember, WWE are so in the times. You have to remember that. Do you remember it, Matt?
I'd completely forgotten that he even had a little video bit.
Yeah, they're so in the times. Just remember that, okay? The match doesn't last long. Ryberg snaps, and I put that in quotations, by punching Adam Rose a little bit. I didn't think you could have, the referee looked like he was going to stop the match over Ryback just giving him punches on the mat. I didn't realise that was so big of a deal. But a shell shock later on, Ryberg leaves the ring as quick as he arrived. That was basically the entire match. There wasn't anything else that really happened there, guys. So don't get too excited about missing the ins and outs of a Ryberg versus Adam Rose match. And I reiterate again, we have always been on the side of, we try to stop people chanting Goldberg for him, but when he wears the gear he's doing right now, he's asking for it. And therefore, we are not going to defend someone who clearly doesn't want to be defended anymore.
Yeah.
That's the way we go about it.
He's not helping himself.
That's right. WWE, Matt, was showing another flashback to what happened last week. At this point in the show, we'd had fucking tons already. And that wasn't the last bit of it. It was almost like, Matt, that it was clear that this Raw was trying to ride the coattails of last week's decent Raw.
Yeah.
Now, it didn't have that much to show us. It knew it. So it thought it would just get off and showing us how great last week was. Whereas for me, it was like, last week was great. Why couldn't you do that again? That's the only thing.
How hard could it have been?
Yeah. It was these small little things that really got to me. The constant replays over and over and over again. The Oscars references that just never stopped throughout the show. The non-matches. And it, like I said, it continues. It continues. The New Day versus Y2AJ, as they're now being called. Matt, you were not quite keen on Y2J and Styles being put into a tag team, but
Nope.
For what we know, as of now, they're going to be staying a tag team going into WrestleMania.
Nope.
No?
I refuse to believe it.
You refuse to believe it. I thought you knew something that
It's a waste. I get, it's not like... I'm not going to be one of those guys where it's like, AJ should be, straight in the title hunt. Or anything like that, but...
I'd argue, they're clearly not going to do Sami Zayn against Kevin Owens, right? For the Intercontinental Championship. Why didn't they just give the indie fans clearly what they wanted, and they kind of set up at Royal Rumble AJ against Kevin Owens?
Yeah.
It's a big high-profile match. I don't have too much of a problem being a tag team here, because he's only come in recently, and he needs to get educated to the fan base. But if there's any fan base that's going to treat him like a massive star, it's going to be that WrestleMania crowd. That's the hardcore wrestling fan crowd. They're going to treat him like he's...
like a conquering hero.
Yeah, they're going to treat him like he's back in Japan, right? That's basically how they're going to treat it. So, but still. Now, this match is fine. I guess the reason why it suffered is because I'd already given up on Raw at this point. I was already angry and I was already pissed off that I was wasting my time on it. Jericho wins with the Walls of Jericho, and I thought that was quite strange. He rarely beats people with that move nowadays, but fair enough. I'd much rather him beat people with it nowadays. That's fine. And that clearly gives him and AJ a title shot for next week. Some people are saying that they are expecting Jericho to turn on AJ, and I'm like, well, fair enough. That probably will happen, but I just don't see it happening before WrestleMania. I think either happens at Mania or the night after Mania, and then they go wherever they want to there. But my initial thought there, Matt, is that they're not going to win the titles next week. They're not going to win the titles at WrestleMania, but they'll be part of a multi-team tag match at WrestleMania. That's how I see it going down. Because they haven't built up anyone really as a proper contender. They're building up 3 separate tag team rivalries. They've got the Dudleys and Usos. They've got New Day and the League of Nations, and New Day and Y2AJ.
Are they really setting up a... Well, yeah, I guess they are, because they're taking the piss out of them.
Yeah.
Have you seen those video segments?
Yeah, they're quite funny. But it's the New Day. They're awesome. So, yeah, that's where I see it going. Oh, God. Oh, dear God.
You've just seen what part's next.
Yeah, do you know what part's next?
I've already forgotten. I've erased it from my mind.
Oh, well, let me re-educate you, Matt. Matt, you should be excited that The Undertaker's on this week of Raw.
Oh, no!
Oh, yes! Oh, yes. Vinnie Mac saunters down to the ring, and he is pissed. By the way, he looked like he was pissed off at the lack of response when he came out. He put his hands out like...
I loved it.
Why are you guys not responding? And obviously he can't grab a mic and cuss them out like I think he did in 1 week, if I remember. There was like a video clip of him having a go at the crowd because they weren't responding or something, but still. He says that hell would have to freeze over, the earth would have to spin on its axis before Shane beats The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Just a little bit of backstage knowledge. For what it's worth, Shane hasn't been rehired by the company in a backstage sense, which I didn't think he would be. He's just under a performer contract. He's going to earn about 120k, apparently. So,
like he needs money.
Yeah, he doesn't need it. He's got his business over in China, and it's still doing business. He's still earning money from it. He's completely fine. I imagine, Matt, this is Shane just having some fun again, right? Him having a laugh, getting in front of the crowd, having some moments, having some memories, having some matches. That's all it is to him, really. Vince says that he loves Shane, so much so that he's going to teach him a lesson in the form of The Undertaker. He calls Taker the instrument of his destruction, and out comes the dead man. Now, for all those that are still going to subject themselves to the torture of this week's Raw, I dare you to stopwatch the moment that Taker's entrance starts and finishes, then restart it again to the actual part where he's in the ring. I guarantee you that they're far closer than you should probably ever think. Like, I'm pretty sure that Undertaker's entrance was longer than him actually being
Than his...
there.
I think so.
Right? If not, it's close. It has to be. At very least, of what he said was far smaller than his actual entrance, right? And you know what? I love Undertaker's entrance. I even love when he speaks. I would love it here if he actually had spoken more. Because all he says when he comes in, by grabbing Vince by the throat as much as he can with the extremely padded gloves he has.
I quite like the picture that I saw, which was like Mania's ruined, Undertaker suspended 90 days.
Yeah, I thought that was quite funny, yeah. I'm sure Titus O'Neil got a kick out of this promo for whatever reason, right? But yeah, he's got a hold of him. He's supposed to be like choking him or whatever. He's got him by the neck. The problem is that Vince is overselling this really badly, right? And Taker, because of his gloves, he can't really grab him properly. It's like he's like got him just below his chest. It looks like he's got his tie, right? And like I said, you've got Vince doing the oversell. He's got his eyes wide. He's like, you know, like this. I'm like, that's ridiculous what you're doing right there, right now. And
it's like a proper, really...
Yeah. Now, all of this, Matt, Taker here, obviously he's going to explain his thoughts on the Shane match, right? And all he says is that the blood of Shane will be on your hands, not mine.
Yeah.
And he walks out.
It was, I'm like... Yeah, it pissed me off because I was like, it could have had so much more. But I did quite like that it did summarise to essentially, you know who I am, you know what I do, you know what match you've put me in. Not my fault.
I get what you're saying.
I'm trying to defend it, damn it, it's The Undertaker.
You know what, Matt? You can defend it all you like. I thought this was pants. I thought the entire segment was a waste of time. In fact, it was such a waste of time that I would much rather not seen The Undertaker this week, and I mean that honestly. I was really excited to see Taker, because at this point in the show, Matt, I even put it up on our Facebook page, that I was struggling at this point really badly to get through. So I was like, okay, awesome, Undertaker's here, that'll be something that I get. Before I could finish that sentence, he was out. He was gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is the point where I stop the show and come back to it at a later date. And this whole thing, Matt, remember, they're trying to get over that Taker is his own man, right? That he doesn't do Vince's bidding, but he's going to show that by doing his bidding.
Yeah.
What a fucking moronic fucking character development there. That's so stupid. Vince afterwards says he's going to write Shane out of his will.
But not to mention that...
Oh yeah, he probably proper sells the choking he didn't receive. He's going to give all of his will to Stephanie, and that he'll renounce Shane and his son, and he'll just be a son of a bitch. Vince is like, fuck this, bitch that. PG does not apply to Vinnie Mac when he wants to. He's just like,
we didn't even refer to that last week.
Yeah.
When he said, like, you're going to get your fucking ass kicked.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
When suddenly the crowd's just like, oh, that's not PG.
Yeah. But Matt, this entire segment, like, I thought it was just a giant wasted opportunity with The Undertaker. You don't get him that often. He can do a good promo, especially when you got Vince in there. People were chanting, this is awesome, before Taker said anything, and they were the same people that were like, wait a minute, he's actually leaving? Like, he's gone? And you know what? For what it's worth, I thought Vince's bit at the end of it, where he was quite sort of almost dejected, but kind of saying what he needed to say about Shane and saying that he's just a son of a bitch. I thought that was pretty good because it was quiet. It was a different Vince, you know. It was just almost like a statement about it. Felt quite strong. But I thought it was a massive missed opportunity with Taker. And the whole idea was that commentary were trying to get over, oh, well, he's his own man. He doesn't abide by anyone's rules. But he's going to abide by Vince's rules. I was like, do you not understand how fucking stupid that is? Like, that really annoyed me. Really, really did. What a missed opportunity. Jey Uso versus Bubba Ray. This match looks like it has some potential to be fun. So, of course, a distraction, Bubba Bomb, and it's over. So, told you,
done.
It's a common theme of this. It's not really
5 minutes, tops.
Oh, Matt, not even that. Not even that. Easily, not even that.
No tables. Oh, why's Steve on getting a table? Oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's it. Goldust speaks to R-Truth backstage. R-Truth is just talking him down again, and I feel just as depressed as I did last week about it. That's basically it. The entire storyline has just gone on too long, and it's gone on too depressing, and it's not funny. It's just sad. Yeah. Kevin Owens versus The Big Show. As much respect as I'm basically going through the end of this show now, because this is how I was feeling at the time. Just get this shit done. Get it out there. Finished. Yeah. As much as I respect The Big Show, when you're struggling to get through 3 hours of Raw, and you hear his music, Jesus Christ, it does.
It's kind of the last thing you want to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, it is exactly the last thing you want to hear. Again, match doesn't last long. Kevin Owens tries to get Big Show counted out. Instead, Big Show gets him counted out. The culmination of many, many non-matches right this show pissed me off to high heaven. I mean, yeah, you might be saying, well, you didn't want to see Big Show anyway, but when he's out there, I'd much rather see a decent match. There were like tons of matches here, Matt, with nothing. They lasted less than 3 minutes at tops, probably most of them. Renee Young speaks to Brie Bella, who's just happy as Larry that she failed to win the Divas Championship. She's happy.
I lost last week. Yay!
Yay! Lana shows up and starts bashing Americans again, and talking about how her man gives her everything she wants. Ladies and gentlemen, the two worst characters in WWE, right there. Lana and Brie Bella. And I've gone on the reason why Brie Bella is, and Lana, basically, her character is equated to, my beliefs are exactly what my man wants them to be.
Yeah.
That's Lana. Fantastic. I don't know whether they're building... Oh, apparently... Oh, this was funny as well. Brie's zinger back to Lana, who starts speaking shit to her, by the way, is that Lana should shave Rusev's back because it's so hairy. I found that a little bit...
Oh, yet again, cue another Oscar reference.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because the bear in Revenant.
Because Oscars, Matt, remember, WWE,
Oscars.
they're so in the times. They're so relevant, right? And I thought it was hypocritical anyway, considering that her husband made a career, most recently of his wrestling time, of having very long hair and having a very long beard. I thought it was a little bit hypocritical about talking about hair on someone's back, but
Yeah.
and I love both guys. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Oh, Rusev is the same. I'm just thinking that the actual insult of your guy has a hairy back. I just thought that was supposed to be the big zinger. That was supposed to... Naomi.
That's funny. Get it?
Yeah, that's right. Naomi versus Brie. The match was longer than the majority of the matches on the show, but it's a Brie Bella matches, so you can expect lackluster kicks and her basically doing all the stuff that would give her pops, which is essentially Daniel Bryan's thing. So,
as well as a crappy shining wizard against the ropes.
That's right. Naomi tried to show her, Matt, how you do a crucifix pin properly. She did everything that she needed to, but Brie just didn't know how to land that shit. So she still doesn't know, either applying that move or landing that move, how to actually take that crucifix pin. So,
yeah. Or just what a crucifix pin is.
Yeah, I'm not sure that she understands, right? This match is a Brie Bella match. You know what to expect. Naomi wins by submission, and Lana comes out afterwards and claps. There you go.
I quite like Naomi's submission.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't have a problem with it. Everything else, ugh, just not that much fun. Sasha is speaking to Becky backstage. They're arguing about who would have won the match earlier on in the night, and Charlotte says they'll get another chance on SmackDown, but they'll both lose at Mania anyway. And I was like, well, after this week's Raw, I'm definitely not watching SmackDown, so I ain't watching that. So, there we are. And we're at the end. Ambrose versus Del Rio. If there's one thing that I can take away from this week's Raw, is that the Oscars were on, and they're so up to date with the times. They really, really, really want to know the secrets behind Natalya's appearance and how she manages to look great, and they managed to figure that out. And the League of Nations can wag their finger in the air like nobody's business. They really can. So, yeah. Del Rio lands his double stomp on Ambrose on the outside, which I will admit looked fairly dirty. Looked pretty devastating. But Ambrose makes the count back into the ring. This match at least got time and was decent. I think we were owed that.
Was it decent?
It was decent enough.
Okay, because I skipped it.
Yeah, it was okay. It was alright.
I was like, I am done with Raw. Let me just get to, like, you know, that sort of moment where you sort of like, I skipped like 30 seconds and another 30 seconds go, oh, something interesting seems to be happening. Right, okay.
Yeah.
That's when Triple H came out.
I fully agree as well. So after the match, Triple H comes out, gives the distraction, so the League of Nations start attacking Ambrose, which causes the DQ. Triple H hits a pedigree on him and says that he'll give Ambrose his title match, and then does what Roman Reigns should be doing each week, puts a pounding on him, pounds the shit out of him on the table.
Oh, do you know what the one thing I hated?
What?
Some fucking dick in the crowd.
Oh, my wife picked up on him, actually. The guy with the DX shirt or whatever that would get.
Was it the guy in the DX shirt?
I don't know. But some guy that was shouting, I'm guessing.
I was like, you should get out of HR. That's not proper, and things like that. And I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah. But what can you do? That's one thing I won't blame WWE on. They can't control that, at least that side of it. But I tell you what is funny about this match is that they're setting up now. We can now talk about it. Ambrose against Triple H at Roadblock, because everything.
And why it's a crappy idea.
Yeah. Now, by the way, of course, it means that everything now before WrestleMania has to be road related. So if it's not Fastlane, it's Roadblock. It's
Speed
pit
bump.
stop, speed bump, right? Toll booth, petrol station, whatever else you can think of. Roadworks, right? Highway. All this stuff, it has to be road-based, basically. Everything has to be road-based. This match is a fucking stupid idea. There's only a few ways that this can go, and I'll explain the reasons why all of them are bad. First off, and by the way, you can say, well, Ambrose could win the championship. He's not winning the championship. Let's get real. They've done advertising for those main events. Those are the main events that are happening. They're not making Ambrose champion. It is not happening, right? So, one of the ways that this could end, Matt, is Triple H beats him clean. What a fucking stupid idea that is, considering you're trying to build this guy up to face arguably a guy that's booked to be more devastating and destructive than Triple H, which is Brock Lesnar, right?
Yeah.
So, that's stupid in and of itself. The only other way it could end, Matt, is a DQ, where maybe Ambrose gets beaten down and then Reigns comes in for the save. In which case, that's a fuck finish, and why would I want to watch that anyway? That's, like, unless... I don't know, I'm like, ugh. They're using Ambrose to try and get Reigns the support here. They're trying... Yeah. Basically, all the fans that at WrestleMania will want Dean Ambrose to be WWE Champion. They know that, so they're trying to use that to their advantage to make sure their guy wins it. Why are they trying to fight the crowd so much? I don't get it. If the crowd wants to boot Roman Reigns, Matt, let them fucking boo Roman Reigns, turn him heel. If they want to cheer Dean Ambrose, let him cheer him, make him a main event title contender. It's not hard. I don't get it. Oh man, this show broke me this week. It really did. And for what it's worth, it's a WWE Network special. I'm sure it will give Triple H some time to tune up for his match. This won't help anything. WWE are in the midst of having one of the most awkward ends to WrestleMania in recent history by having Roman Reigns win the title.
Do you know one thing I quite like, though?
Go on.
Like, Roadblock's going to have an NXT match on it.
Yeah, it's going to... Was it the Revival against...
Enzo and Cass.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Dash and Dawson is the Revival, Tony.
They've changed their name recently. I get it wrong, but... Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be alright. I'm much more interested in that match than the Ambrose and Triple H one, because you know that it's not going to end in any way that the fans were going to be interested in. So, I don't know, Matt. All in all, this week's Raw I thought was fucking shit, and maybe it's because it's a culmination of sins committed by Raws over a long period of time that this is the one that's getting the brunt of the problems. I said all the prefixes before it. But I have not struggled to get through Raw as much as this one in a long time.
Agreed.
I really, really struggled. It was, at very least, taking away all the stinging criticism and just the venom out of what I'm saying. I think people can very least admit that the show was innately boring this week. I think they could very least agree with that.
Yeah.
It was a Raw that wanted to remind you how great last week was. While not doing anything itself to warrant its own viewership. And guys, if you haven't watched it already and you're waiting for a review, you can clearly know what it is. Fucking skip it. Don't go anywhere close to this week's Raw. Just don't go close. Just miss it. Just
watch next week because Shane will be back.
Yeah, there you go. That's all it is. The only thing that you might want to go out of your way to watch is the Stephanie McMahon promo. I would even say, okay, you might want to go and look for this Sasha-Becky match, but I had a fuck finish at the end anyway, so maybe you wouldn't feel that compelled to watch it. And you're going to get that match again, most likely, next week or whatever. So, I don't know, Matt. Maybe it's just me. Hopefully there's people in the comments that can see where I'm coming from with this. Matt, I did not like this show. It makes me angry that I spent time over the course of this week, instead of doing other stuff I could have done for the podcast. I could have reviewed another show. I could have taken time out to go have a very awkward dump, and my time would have been spent much better doing it.
Oh, yeah.
There's our Raw review, guys.
Awkward.
I'm glad we did this, though, Matt. I'm glad we put it at the start of the show, because our next segment is fan feedback. And I'm going to have fun answering those questions. I can let this all go out now. Raw review is done. It's over. It's done. Yeah. The pain is gone, for now, at least. Johnny Bro says that the Godfather deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Have we ever heard of Shaka Zulu? And Godfather had titles. He's trying to say that he had like a lengthy career and stuff before Godfather. Now, obviously, you're entitled to your opinion. And sure, in WWE's Hall of Fame, he probably fits in quite well, but what we were talking about is what in a real Wrestling Hall of Fame, like we're talking about creme de la creme, people that changed the landscape of wrestling or the direction of wrestling. Godfather never did that. That's all I'm saying, right?
Yeah. To have had a good run, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not like Dusty or Brett or anything like that.
No. Let's be honest here, right? But fair enough. If you want to say, he deserves to go into the WWE Hall of Fame, well, who doesn't at this point? The criteria is getting quite low. Let's just say. But you're entitled to your opinion. You may think of it a different way than I do, but that's my train of thought with it anyway. Grizzy165 says, what do we think of Nakamura signing with the WWE? He's super excited, although a little bit disappointed that he will only be on NXT at first. Matt, do you want to answer this one?
I like it. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
The only problem is, I think the sole reason that he's going off to NXT is just to work the American style.
You reckon? You mean that was one of his main things that he wants to work a
That's
different
probably
style of
just
wrestling?
it.
I think he wants to conquer America.
Mm.
I think he wants to do what no other Japanese wrestler has been able to do, which is to become a huge Japanese wrestler to the American demographic. I think he's got a good chance, but that's just me. Yeah, my answer to that, yeah. I think what the reason why I'm excited with him, Matt, and I do think he's got the opportunity to become that, he's the perfect mash of style, charisma, matched with what I think is a very, very good in-ring acumen.
Yes.
So, he's good enough to be main roster for sure, but I honestly think that the NXT time that he's going to do is probably going to do him more favours than people think. And it's not, I don't think with him it's, he needs to know where the hard camera is. It's just him bedding himself into a new roster, into a new way of wrestling. You know, he doesn't have as long to do a lot of his matches now. You know, in NXT. You know, just getting used to surroundings, getting used to America. He can speak English, so that's not a problem. But getting a little bit more used and fluent in the you know, a bit more used to the language in general and speaking to people and working with different styles. Yeah, I've got no problem with being on NXT for a while. That's just me, but still. For a while, though, because...
not for too long, but, like, I can see... Like, if you compare, like, sort of the reason why Styles went straight to the main roster, I find that to be... I don't know if I liked that, because everyone seems to be like... If Styles can go straight to the main roster, why the hell couldn't Samoa Joe?
It's all on conditional on what plans they have and what appeal
Oh,
they
yeah.
have in that region. I honestly don't have too much of a problem with it. I think Nakamura, if he ends up being at NXT for like over a year, I think that's a problem, because I think he is one of these guys who genuinely has a chance, right? He's one of the few guys I think who has a chance that could break out, you know. And you can say all you want that the American fans just don't want to cheer for a Japanese talent because of the history. I honestly think that this generation doesn't care nearly as much.
You racist bastard.
Yeah, you know, and honestly I don't think it's that much of a problem. And I think he's got the charisma, but we'll see.
He's the king of strong style, so let's not forget that.
Yeah, that's right. And strong style, there's a lot of power that comes with that, you know, so... just the charisma, Matt. That's the one thing that's going to do it for him. It's the charisma. He can have all the wrestling style he could want, and it will get him nowhere. It's the charisma that will get him somewhere in WWE. So, Caleb Duckworth has a couple of questions. Actually, not a couple, just one. He says, with the colour on Raw last week and Vince dropping the F-bomb, would we say that WWE is nearing the end of this PG era? Absolutely not.
Nope.
No, not happening. I firmly believe that WWE will be PG as long as they can possibly keep it going. And Matt, this may upset a few of our fans when I say this. It's a choice that unfortunately I can see some merits in. I don't like it, but I can understand the reasons why they go PG. And while I might disagree with some of them, but I can still they're not doing PG for just no reason. They're doing it because it's a business decision for the long term, right?
Yeah.
But no. And unfortunately, the show being PG does leave it without a sort of an edge, you might say. I think the only reason why they're being a little bit Like, the colour on Raw was accidental, that's for one.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, no, it was... what do you mean?
The blood on Raw last week?
He wasn't properly gashed, like...
No, it was because it was a fake.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean anyway, but, like... Vince dropping the F-bomb anyway, that was just him getting overexcited, right? That was just him getting in the moment.
I think that's real.
What do you mean?
I think Vince is. I don't think Vince is dumb enough to just drop an F-bomb on live TV.
So you think differently? You think maybe they might be testing the waters a little bit and knowing that's what people do?
I don't know so much if it's testing the waters, but I think it's just like, hey, don't forget, Mania's coming soon, and like it is a big deal. Like, if they were like we don't know. It's now hit a point that's like we don't know what their original plan was for Mania. We probably never will, but they're sort of like, maybe like in the office, they're sort of getting a bit worried that they may not pull the viewing that they wanted to.
Mm.
So they're like, shit, maybe we could do something about this.
And you know, when they do little things like this, it teases people, gets people talking about it at very least. I can understand why they would go with that. I just realised going with the fan feedback, we completely skipped the news here. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, fair enough. I don't have too much of a problem with that, but that's fine. Oh yeah, he does have another question. His other question is if our idea on a brand split, and if Shane ends up taking control of Raw, and the Authority goes to SmackDown in that sense. Both shows are now on the same network. Is it a good idea? What would we do? Now, one of the things that Caleb said here is that he says that it might not work because the roster is too thin. And I think he's right on the money there. It's not so much the roster's thin, it's just thin on stars, on drawing power. So if you're doing that, I think you're going to have WWE are going to have a lot more problems. I think when they did the brand split the first off, they had like the stars they had at their disposal at that time: Stone Cold, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, Brock Lesnar, The Undertaker, Triple H, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho. The list goes on. And
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
Benoit.
Yeah, right. They had a lot of this very established talent on their roster. They just WWE just doesn't have stars. That's their problem, right? They've got John Cena, who's their big drawing star, who isn't around at the moment. They've got Brock Lesnar. Who would you think else in WWE would be able to draw a massive crowd? I'm not sure there's many people left that can, apart from those two. Like I said, Reigns isn't at that point yet, and people are starting to push against him. Yeah. Ambrose is fine, but he appeals to not a huge demographic, right?
Yep.
Like, as in, I don't see, at the moment anyway, currently, he's not a huge star. WWE could end up making him the huge star if they wanted to, but they clearly don't. WWE just isn't hot enough to pull it off anymore. That's just the crux of the matter. They're going to end up splitting their viewership, and I don't think it's going to help them. The way they might look at it is having one show with 4 million viewers better than two shows that have 2 million viewers each. I think having one show with 4 million viewers is going to get them a lot more in advertisement revenue and payments from networks rather than having two that has 2 million each. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but still, I think that might be how it goes. And the fact that Raw is 3 hours long as well, so that means that they will be trying to push 5 hours of television on you and saying that you have to catch 5 hours to stay relevant on the storylines that are going at the moment. Don't see it happening. I just don't think WWE are in the right position to do that, and they need to create a lot more stars before they are. That's just all I say. Billy McGee asks, do we think NXT will continue to be a success after talent start heading to the main roster? I think NXT will do just fine, honestly. I think it's got enough fanfare, and it was doing great, Matt, before the indie talent even started arriving on NXT shows. It started making a name for itself before the Ballas and the Joes and the Aries and the Nakamura started to arrive. Do you think it would be fine if all of them magically got called up, or...?
I think... Yeah, the talent pool is a key feature to NXT. I think they just have the right plan when it comes to booking NXT.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe they would suffer when they tour and they go to some places outside Full Sail, but I honestly think if you were to take all those names out of NXT and it was just only developmental talent in NXT, at very least, the Full Sail crowd will always be there, and they'll always have a show each week that they'll be able to put on the network.
Well, that's what we had, like, way back when. Like, when it first started out, like, you had... Well, okay, yeah. Like, you had Rollins, who was the first ever NXT champion, who is... Yeah, not so much, but still, like, an indie darling.
Yeah.
Of the time. You had Dallas. Like, there's still plenty of people knocking around. But, like, the entire sort of the Four Horsewomen, none of them are, like, brought in from Ring of Honor or anything like that as the highlights.
Yeah, they didn't make it. They weren't big drawing stars before they got into WWE. They primarily became those characters in the Performance Center. So
yeah,
which is excuse me, something that WWE should be quite proud of, on that fact that they created 4 very decent female talent. Right, you have to give them props for that at least. No, they'll be fine. At very least, if this, I mean, it's a redundant question. I don't think all of those indie talents are going to the main roster. For instance, Austin Aries debuted this week on NXT. I don't think he's going to the main roster. I think NXT is where he's staying.
Hear that Gallows and Anderson might actually be going straight to the main roster.
Really? Well, maybe,
yeah.
Maybe. But regardless, I think they'll be fine. I think NXT as a promotion is hot enough. They've got people rabidly behind it. They'll be okay. They'll be alright. Kane St. Dennis asks, how would we book the Wyatt family after WrestleMania so they can be taken seriously again? I feel, Matt, this is a loaded question. I think that this is a question...
I fear it's too late.
Yeah, that's my answer to it. I think that the Wyatts have come in. They did well for a while. They split up. They've been rebooted. New members have been added. Then the situation that they've been in has always remained the same. That no one really cares because WWE hasn't utilized their potential correctly. They have the same problems, unfortunately, like a lot of mid-carders around them, that they've just been irrelevant for too long. And yeah, you could book them and give them big wins, but I honestly think that the Wyatt family, in a perfect world, would already be a huge stable doing a lot of meaningful things on the show each week. That time has gone. I think the general fan looks at them a certain way, and it's going to take years.
Do you remember when we were so excited for Wyatt's Shield?
I know, right? And how much has changed since then? So much has changed. But that's just the way it is. I guess one thing you could do in terms of now, I guess, is that you can pull the trigger and turn them face instead. Make them run over people, but I honestly think that the potential that they had is gone. I think that it's almost like Ryback in a sense that he was getting really big, people were getting behind him, and then as soon as they pushed him into a position that he wasn't ready for. I'm not saying that the Wyatts weren't ready for, but once they started making him lose tons of pay-per-view matches, then that part of that potential of him being a huge star down the line, I think, was permanently shut off to them. People had already been educated at that point that he wasn't that guy. He wasn't that special. And I think WWE has done that with the Wyatts. That's just my opinion. Dane V90 asks, do we think the push for SmackDown to grow and Shane making a play for Raw, is there going to be a brand split? We thought answer that a little bit more. He says he means more like the SmackDown versus Raw days, not complete brand separation. And I get what he's getting at is probably not having like the pay-per-views that were specific to a single show. Remember, SmackDown had its own pay-per-views, Raw had its own.
I think it would probably end up being in a SmackDown versus Raw format if it did it.
Yeah. One thing I would say about this, is adding into what we said before though, Matt, is that I honestly do agree with a lot of people's assumption, and this has been my assumption all along, that WWE's newfound fascination with SmackDown will fade in time. It always does. As long as Raw is 3 hours, no one's going to bother watching SmackDown, even if they do a brand split. So I honestly think that WWE, they're all about SmackDown now because it's just moved to USA. 6 months down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know where it's going, Matt. Guys, if you've been watching wrestling for 5 years, you know the routine with SmackDown at this point. They will build it up every now and then when they feel that they need to, and then they will just forget about it because Raw is the only show that matters. So, but that's just the blunt of it, really. We got 2 questions. Go on, Matt. Go on.
Well, no, that's it. I mean, unless Heyman's booking it, then it's a whole different story.
Oh yeah, there is. But it's WWE's thought track with it. They want SmackDown to be successful, but not nearly as successful as they want it to be than Raw. You know, Raw is always the one that gets the love and attention, and SmackDown gets as much love and attention as they think that the new people that just bought the contract want it to have, and then after it's been there for a while, they just forget about it. That's what they do. Facebook questions now. Matt Mann asks, do we think WWE will or should allow blood at this year's WrestleMania? He asks because if there isn't any blood in the Ambrose and Lesnar bout, it will feel like the payoff will fall a bit flat. Quick answer: they should, but they won't. That's basically my answer.
Yeah.
It's the exact sort of match that could benefit from blood. It really is. If you're going to use blood in any sort of opportunity in terms of a physical beatdown, this is it. You know, I got the thought of Ambrose donning the crimson mask but still not going down, and Lesnar standing and looking at his hands, and you've got Ambrose like standing up and he's got the blood dripping down his face, just going, "Come on, let's do it again." And almost like Lesnar's going a bit mad, but who knows? Maybe
I've beaten you. It's like, no.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he'll crack a joke at his expense, Matt. Maybe that's what beats him. That's what gives him the 3 count, Matt. That's what Lesnar does to him.
The bastards.
Yeah, that's my answer to that. They should do it for WrestleMania in that match, but no, they probably won't. You might see blood though. I'm not saying it's completely out of the void. Accidents happen. They might try and use blood in a different format. I just don't think you're going to see people gashed or anything like that.
And to be fair, it's not unlike Brock Lesnar's prone to just going, "Fuck what you say."
Yeah, and you know,
no blood, I'll bleed.
Like Brock works very heavy anyway, so he's prone to busting people open anyway. So, like in his matches, you'll be surprised the amount of times that people have seen red, shall we say, from matches with him. Him and Undertaker both bled in the Hell in a Cell match. So, and he busted open last year, if you remember. He hit the
that's true,
post,
yeah.
And yeah, he was caked in it. So there's that. Liam Cook asks, who do we see winning the Money in the Bank this year? With not too many up-and-coming superstars in WWE at the moment, bar the NXT guys. He wants to have our thoughts on it. My answer to that...
KO.
You think Kevin Owens is going to win the Money in the Bank? Good pick. There's a chance.
I don't know, it's not really a pick. I think it's kind of tough to say. I'd quite like to see Kevin Owens with Money in the Bank, but, I mean...
Whether or not he will or not is...
Yeah, I very much doubt we'll get it.
I honestly think it's either going to be Rollins returning and winning, Reigns, because he's Roman Reigns and WWE want him to be a big guy.
Ooh.
Or, and I just said, talking about Dean Ambrose, or they give it to Dean Ambrose and they let him have it for a while. Honestly, in which case my answer is one of the Shield guys. I think that's probably... They've got those 3 penned in to become big stars. Ambrose maybe less so, but they want Rollins and Reigns to become big stars for them. So I'm sure that they will have more opportunities going forward. That is... so you saying you would like to see Kevin Owens, of course.
Yeah, but then it kind of goes with the whole one of the NXT guys, isn't it?
Yeah. That would be kind of cool. I like the idea of having Owens and doing promos with that briefcase and picking his moment. Matt, what I always said about him, he's a once-in-a-lifetime heel. Once in a generation heel. I honestly think that he is that good. I think that highly of Owens, but
yeah,
they just have to use him the right way. Right, this show has gone all topsy-turvy. That's all of the questions. We have the news and the report card to do. We just done all the segments in different orders. This is what happens when we get pissed off. If you guys want to leave any questions, you can leave them in the comments section below. You can leave them on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. Matt, they can also leave it on our Twitter. They can ask you directly, but how would they do such a thing?
They can always get through on the Twitter handle of @TalkWrestlePod.
That is the one. That's how you do it. And plenty of ways to leave questions for us if you want us to be answered here on the show. Any Lucha Underground questions may be directed towards my Lucha Underground reviews, but that's just the way it is there. So, Matt, I'll give you a choice then as we're going through with the show. NXT report card or the news?
We'll go with the news.
News, okay. So, just a little bit of news this week. The Fabulous Freebirds, of course, inducted into the Hall of Fame.
About time.
Kind of made sense, Matt, considering the Dallas setting, right? These guys cutting their teeth in Dallas.
Yeah.
Doing their stuff down there. Most modern fans will probably only know these guys for the Freebird tag title ruling. Getting my words muffled.
Well, yeah, they'll only know the fact that they reference them with the New Day.
That's it. But just to say that they're only known because that ruling is kind of a disservice to the group. They were much, much more than that. Led by Michael Hayes. You may have seen him in some WWE Network stuff. A guy that I would say has tried to keep his look over the years, and it hasn't quite gone with him.
So the worst part is, when you're saying that, and I was like, the guy who looks like Rourke in The Wrestler.
Yeah, right, he really does, right? But I tell you what, Matt, when you see pictures of Michael Hayes back in his prime,
oh yeah,
he was a good-looking guy, wasn't he? Jeez, you can see why he was the leader of that group, because he wasn't half bad, He definitely had appeal over that time. Now, one of the things that you'll notice by watching the group is that you can find some stuff on the network involving them. They had a lengthy run as a group through a number of organizations and promotions. And I say fair play to all of them. I honestly think that this is one of the groups that arguably should probably already be in there. But when it's done in Dallas, Matt, it kind of, like I said, it kind of makes sense. Fair enough for them to do it here, do it now.
Yeah.
They'll have a good speech, though. Michael Hayes is probably going to have a decent speech at the very least. So there is that, and it's going to be good to see some of the others in the group, because they're not nearly as featured nowadays as Hayes. Right? He was the leader of the group, and he's still involved with WWE, so that just comes as a given. But still, good stuff for them. This is much more like it. For all the stuff that I might have said about The Godfather, and that might have annoyed people, Matt, the Freebirds deserve to go in there, don't they?
Oh yeah, that's a given.
Yeah, it's a given. So, fair play to them. WrestleMania this year is free to new subscribers. I was very shocked to hear this. They're doing the whole thing that they do, Matt, when they're doing like the pay-per-views that no one cares about. They try and shell the network off on a free for that month. They're doing it for WrestleMania. I was hugely shocked by this news. If you haven't got the network and you want to resubscribe and become a new subscriber, you get WrestleMania for free. So, fair play. Doesn't mean that WrestleMania is free. People who are already paying still have to pay, as always. Now, the reason why they're doing this, Matt, this is them going all out to try and get their network subs up, and they stand to lose a lot of money if this doesn't work out for them.
Oh yeah.
They're basically saying, sign up to the network or bust. Right? I'm not saying or bust, they'll still be fine. But they're leaving a lot of money off the table by making this a free month. Because a lot of people would have gladly paid the $9.99 and cancelled it a month later. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of people, that would have done that. And that's a lot of money, Matt, when you start racking that up.
And it's not like that was too difficult as well.
Yeah. That's a lot of money they're leaving on the table. They're hoping that people that would still buy, maybe they've got the numbers and they're realising that people still, for some reason, are buying this on pay-per-view, on spending the whole like $50 or whatever it is in America for the pay-per-view.
Yeah, whatever JBL will have us believe.
Yeah. Which I think is actually true on that. They do charge a huge amount for the pay-per-views over in America. So maybe they've got the numbers. They're realizing that they're not transitioning those numbers onto network enough. So this is their big play to try and get all of those people. You know, what's better, spending 50 quid, or getting it for free? That's the way they're going to look at it. So I would argue that the $9.99 would have probably have done that for people. But I know, maybe Matt. One of the reasons why I was reluctant to sign up to things like Netflix is because you don't want to sign up to a lengthy deal, and when people think of signing up for a subscription, they think it's for like 6 months, even if they don't know all the details. And of course, it's not what the WWE Network is. That's just your initial thought, you know. Some people, I don't know, but one of the other things as well, there, Matt, is if WWE had any show they felt confident of charging a lot of money for, it would be WrestleMania, right? Sure.
Oh yeah.
So they are putting, Matt. This makes the next conference call very interesting. I am very interested to see what their sub count is. If only we could hear how much they got from WrestleMania and how many still cancelled regardless. That would be interesting. How many stayed on, and if they actually got a lot out of this. But man, if they're doing WrestleMania as a 3-month, then there's just no limit to what they're to these 3 months and them trying to. They really, Matt. I think this is the final nail in the coffin for anyone believing that they're not trying to get this network over with anything. They're doing everything they can to make sure that everyone has that network. They're leaving nothing on the table. They're giving all the weapons.
I do kind of feel like a bit of a dick, because I am thinking to myself, I don't know why you wouldn't have the network.
Yeah, it's like the way I look at it, Matt, is I think the network's good value. You know, because you get the pay-per-view each week. And I've said that before, but we are hardcore wrestling fans. We're the ones that will probably get a lot more use out of that. What about the generic wrestling fan? How much are they going to get use out of the network? They might just think it's worth just paying for the WrestleMania thing and not worrying about the network for the rest of the year. That's how a lot of people think, you know. But I'll be interested. Guys, I know we're all hardcore wrestling fans here. That's why we listen to wrestling podcasts. That's why we do a podcast. Our fans, I would like for you to go out and speak to people that aren't wrestling fans as much as you are, but would still watch WrestleMania, and see if this promotion got to them and they actually are interested in it. You know, and the reasons why they weren't interested before, even though it was cheaper at $9.99. I am quite interested in that. That sort of thing interests me, and people's habits and how they perceive things. I think that's quite an interesting, you know, train of thought anyway, but that's just me. A bit sadder news now here, and news that I had been requested to bring up by our one of our fans, MC Schwabo. I was going to bring it up anyway, but because of the message, you know, I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on it. But Hayabusa, the Japanese wrestling legend, died this week, age 47. Quite unfortunate news. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about him because of MC Schwabo's message. I'll go on a little bit longer, and I'm not going to go on record and say, Matt, that either of us are experts on his body of work. He wasn't hugely known around the US or, you know, Western wrestling promotions or anything along those lines. But you're looking at a guy who innovated quite a bit, not just in Japan, but in other places of the globe as well. And I think that if you don't know Hayabusa and how his reach went far beyond what you may have already perceived, just look at the list of wrestlers that paid tribute and actually give him props for their own success. The list will include names you may have never even thought of before, and people that you watch on a weekly basis. I think that's quite a testament, Matt, to the legacy that he has, that it goes much further than his own career, that it goes to the careers of others, to the style that he tried to introduce. You know, this very high-flying, at times hardcore style
Yeah.
that made him stand out from the crowd. So good stuff there, you know. He's one of those people that I think that, like I said, influences a lot more people than people know, than the wrestling fans realise. Maybe some people may even levy unsung hero in that sense to Hayabusa. It's a shame, Matt, that the physical problems that he ended up having towards the end of his life and his career, that now with New Japan getting more eyes with Western audiences, and I know he did some work with Dragon Gate and stuff like that. That nowadays, with the new era being able to catch people that are a little bit more obscure, that we weren't able to, a lot more people weren't able to see his body of work when he was actively.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest shame of it there. But I'm sure that for fans that may know of the name, he did some stuff in ECW, but really that was really the extent of it. That's really, in terms of Western wrestling, there wasn't that much there. But regardless, just guys, go on to just type in, Hayabusa tributes. I'm sure someone's got like a list of all the wrestlers that did tributes to this guy, and you realise just how respected he was in the field of wrestling, and how much his style has been emulated by others, right? So there we are. And obviously to MC Sharbo, who sent in the message and asked us to look in it a little bit more. This was one of his heroes, one of the earliest wrestlers he ever saw. So obviously quite a sad week for himself, and we hope you'll, hope it's not too shitty for you. Hope you. I always think with this, Matt, when you've got someone, a legendary wrestler that dies, it's time to go back and watch all their matches and remember just how good they really were and enjoy it. Man, I did that with Dusty, Matt. When Dusty passed, I watched so many Dusty matches that week. It was...
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like the day I found out, I probably watched the Hard Times promo like 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Probably more than that.
And Piper, when he passed, I watched his match with Bret Hart.
Yeah.
That match, which was fantastic. He's had more than one match with Bret Hart. I mean the WrestleMania match. That's the one I'm talking about. So.
The match with Bret Hart.
The match. Everyone knows when you're talking about the match with Piper and Bret Hart. You know which one I'm talking about. So yeah, I hope I did some justice there, MC Schwarbo. Like I said, I'm not going to blow smoke and tell everyone that, oh yeah, I love this guy and he's fantastic and I've been a huge fan of his work all the time. I wasn't that associated with what he did. I haven't seen many of his matches, but it's clear that the respect and the legacy and the influence that he had is there for everyone to see. So there we are. We are at the end of the show, Matt. We've only got an NXT report card to go. This show's been interesting, one, because of the angry review we did at the start, and the fact we've done all the segments in different order. That's quite
fun. It's all a little bit messed up.
It's loosey-goosey, baby. It's loosey-goosey. That's what it is. Let's talk about the Vaudevillains this week in the NXT report card. They had a match this week. The heels that don't act like heels. They've gone all business recently, and if the Hype Bros segment has anything to say, maybe a little bit rapey. I'm not sure. But,
agreed.
They did look a bit... Something was going on. It looked like they were sexually
attracted. I don't know whether... I know they're trying to go, silent movie on it all, but there was very much a sort of rapey moment where they just stood there yeah.
Yeah. It looked a bit weird, shall we say. Especially Gotch. Simon Gotch looked like a proper creepoid. But still, there we are. I've always been a bit confused by their return, Matt, because the vignettes were done so well. I liked their vignettes, where the music turned and then they just suddenly started looking very menacing. But when they eventually came out, they've done very little different to what they did before. So, if there has been...
if this is meant to be an image change or something, it's not really... The only thing I noticed was that Gonch has a silly haircut.
Is that the only thing that you've taken away from this entire rebranding?
That's all I could really notice.
Yeah.
I don't think their styles changed that much.
No.
Their entrance hasn't really changed too much. I don't know.
Their matches haven't changed that much. They're
No.
still doing the manly, they're still playing out to the crowd like their faces a little bit. So I don't know if they've got on a heel turn. Maybe they're saving it like it's coming. It's just a slow burn. But I may have, Matt. I think the last time we did a NXT report card on the Vaudevillains, I was a bit critical of them, and I was critical to Simon Gotch more of. I said Aiden English, I could see him. There's potential there, but with Gotch, I'm not as sure.
Yeah.
I've warmed to it a little bit more, but if you're still going to put a gun to my head and say which one of these guys do you want to be in a big situation, which guy do you want to go onto the main roster as a single star? It's English. That's
yeah.
what I would pick. But I tell you what, Matt, if they're going to be a team that goes up onto the main roster, looking at someone like Tyler Breeze and how easily he was forgotten, I just look at these guys and I'm like, I don't know.
Scary.
Yeah, I just don't. I thought the gimmick would be quite unique and it would work on the main roster, but I thought the same about Tyler Breeze, and I'm like, I don't know. I think Vince would look at them and be like, well, they're a tag team. Great, I have the Ascension and they're a tag team, and sure, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. They're going to be wrestling the Hype Bros soon, and it's one of those things that they've been tag team champions. I don't see them being champions again. I think that slot is going to be saved for American Alpha, and fair enough. So the only place for them to go at this point, considering they've spent so long now in NXT, is to go to the main roster. But I just don't see it working out that well if they go there, and it's this weird sort of limbo in that case that they've been stuck in. Do you agree with that? They're like, it's almost like they're damned where they go, sort of thing in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean they're not really going to go anywhere. And like, yeah, I mean I can agree with the fact that the Vince probably looks at it and goes, no. Like he's having a hard enough time with the tag division as it is.
Yeah. Like, one of the ideas that they might be doing is that, there's not many heel teams on that roster. They changed the Dudleys to kind of coincide with that. I know they've got the League of Nations now. Maybe it's not as much of a problem, but maybe they're thinking they change the Vaudevillains heel and then they go over to the main roster to kind of help out on that front. I'm not thinking that's going to do that much, but still. What's your grade for the Vaudevillains currently, then?
I can't remember what I gave them last time, so that.
Oh, just exactly the same.
I can't give him. What have they done?
Oh, what have done is lose the title since I think we talked about them last. I think that's all they've done.
Maybe put them up a grade because I like them. I don't know. I was going to say I like them more now, but I don't think that's even true.
I'm giving them a B-. I still think they're a serviceable team. It's just the future. I'm not.
Agreed.
I'm not as sure about.
Yeah. I mean, I did quite enjoy NXT London when. But I guess that's just like the crowd participation of it all. When suddenly everyone's doing the gather round everyone and witness the Debonair devastation.
Yeah. But like I said, if they're kind of going into a heel turn there, then they're going to be trying to actively stop people from doing that sort of thing. But I don't know. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're just doing a thing here where they're still face, but they're all business now. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm not. I thought they could have made much more of the vignettes. I thought the vignettes were brilliant. They were very short, and it really got over that these guys were not going to be the same. The problem is when they debuted, they were the same, and they were all something different. So, B- for me. That's what I'm doing. So there we are. One last thing to talk about before we finish the show is obviously Austin Aries arriving in NXT. Now, I know some people like the Solid Monster was actually at that taping. I'm sure he'll let us know on his own show whether or not that was a big pop. But Matt, to me, it didn't sound like much of a pop at all when he came out.
Yeah.
I know it was probably at the end of like a long taping, and then probably were burned out already. But to me, it just sounded like most people weren't that enthused about it. When you
not even aware.
Yeah, you put it to some of the other guys that have come in, and they've got like heroic responses. This wasn't nearly as much, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was just the recording, but still. Corbin takes him clean out. I thought Corbin was actually brilliant here. He batters the shit out of Aries.
Yeah.
Throws Aries' shirt in Regal's face after shouting an eye for an eye. Corbin does
sort of holds up the T-shirt like it's a title.
That's right. He hates indie stars, does Corbin? I like that.
Seems it.
I like that. Why not? Why wouldn't he hate indie stars coming in, taking his slot every now and then? Goes and beats them up. I like it. And that's setting up the match for him and Aries at Dallas. Fair enough. That's okay. That's all right with me. Now, this might get me a little bit unpopular. I can understand the appeal of Austin Aries. He's a great pro wrestler, but I've never been as hot on Aries as most people are. I've been one of those guys like, he's good, he's alright, but if you were to put him alongside some of the other big indie talent like Nakamura and Balor, I would easily pick them over him. Maybe that's just me, but I think he's okay. I think he's a good wrestler. I just don't put him on the same level as them. Maybe that's just me. I can agree that's probably just my taste, but
I don't know.
I'm sure everyone's going to have a different thought.
It's tough.
Maybe I'm the only person that thinks that way, but still. But you know what? Regardless of that, doesn't mean that I'm not going to enjoy him being there and the moments and the rest.
Oh yeah, like I know I'm going to get great matches out of him.
Yeah, it's still going to be good.
But like the last time I watched anything with Austin Aries in it was when he was giving up the X Division belt to challenge Bobby Roode for the TNA heavyweight belt. And that was a while ago.
I will say something though, Matt, is that one thing I will say of Austin Aries is that he can rock a suit. You know, he can rock a suit jacket. He looks fly with the suit jacket, I will say that. Matt, we're done. We're out of here. That's all we've got, well, not time for this week. It's all we've got on the show. We've kind of changed things around a little bit. I'm sure maybe there's even a segment here I've missed just because we've gone jumbled things up for this week. But hopefully it was a little bit different for you guys. Maybe you enjoyed it. Let us know if you like any sort of different format. Maybe you like the, us doing the Raw review a little bit earlier. We just felt like we had to get it out there earlier. Or at least I did, at the very least.
Yeah.
So there is that. Matt, is there anything else you want to bring up before we wrap this shit up?
I have nothing else to do.
No, let's do it. So, of course, if you did enjoy this episode, you can leave a like on the video. You can subscribe as well, become one of our, hopefully very soon, 600 subscribers. And at the end of the year, we're hoping to get 1,000. So you can help us with that. You can also ask us any questions in the comments section below. I'm starting to get the hiccups at the end of this show now. So you can leave the comments, like I said, the questions on the comment section. You can also leave them on our Twitter handle, which is
at Talk Wrestling Pod.
It is indeed. On our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. Send us an email, Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast @gmail.com. If you want to send us anything that is private through there, you can send us a message privately through YouTube as well. Apart from that, we'll see you next week for hopefully a better episode of Raw. And who knows, even if it is bad, maybe I just got this all out of my system, and next week we'll go about trying to review things fairly and trying to look at things in a little bit more of a positive light and offering a little bit more satire and less just plain rage about it all. So maybe that's the case there.
That's it. Well, we can only hope for a better week.
We can only hope. And of course, I've got Lucha over the course of this week, so who knows?
That's very true.
Lucha was always good. Have you been watching Lucha, Matt? You've been keeping up to date with it?
I'm a week behind. I haven't caught this week's.
Well, I tell you what, Matt. If you want to see Mil Muertes kick the shit out of some people,
then this is the week I need to watch.
It is indeed. Yeah, I've titillated you. Oh yes.
Consider me intrigued.
Just by the way, though, the season of Lucha Underground so far, wow, has been stellar. It's been very, very good. Apart from that, I think that's all we've got time for. We'll catch you all guys next week, and we hope you have a great time.
That's it. We'll catch you soon.
That's it now. Bye-bye.
Bye.